we have a very special guest. I want to welcome Clarity to the show. Thank you, Clarity, for joining us. Clarity is from Divine Self-Healing, which is really a holistic approach to self-care and overall wellness. Welcome, Clarity, to the Simply Real podcast. How are you doing today?
Hello, hello. I'm doing good for you.
We're doing great. We're so happy to have you on board on this podcast today. And we cannot wait to hear about your journey with Divine Self-Healing. So tell us a little bit about Clarity and that beautiful name, of course.
Well, thank you. I'm so happy to be here again. So, Clarity, that's so interesting that you asked that. So that name actually came from a friend of mine, a very dear friend. Like, we always had nicknames for one another. It's like we never even used each other's real names. So we knew each other's names, but that's just organically like just what happened. And it really resonated with me because just in exploring myself and knowing myself and even just my interactions with others, that's what's always come up. Like, oh, you give such good advice. Oh, your energy is so peaceful and calm. And, oh, when I speak to you, when you speak, I get clarity, or things become clear, or, I begin to understand more. So I just thought that it was very fitting for me to use just in my business and in these spaces where that's the energy that it is that I'm bringing to what's going on.
Oh, that is beautiful. And it's definitely a great reflection of you as an individual and your business, because from learning more about you and doing transformation and, how you sort of present yourself, there's definitely that level of clarity that you are helping your clients to receive. So tell us a little bit about Divine Self-Healing, how it was started and sort of what it's all about.
Okay. So in the beginning, I would say that it was more about like the herbs and the food and teas and those things, which of course I still do being an herbalist. Because in the beginning of me being awakened to my transformation journey, that's kind of where I started. In 2015, I was at my highest weight of 287 pounds. And it was around that time that I started to awaken to like my spiritual journey and to the fact that a lot of the things that it was that we were being taught and being shown and learning, was conditioning and, all these the different ways that we can go about calling it or labeling it, but basically it's artificial and it's not natural. And so once I began to study, more natural ways of living and being that involve, eating from the earth and cultivating the land and, cultivating ourselves, in the way that it is that we desire to be to reach our goals and fulfill our destiny. I really began to shift in that. And so I think at this point where I am now with the Divine Self-Healing, because of course it changes as I change, it's the transformation and the level up and the elevation of it. And so right now, it's really more about the sacred self-care and the radical rest is what I'll say, and how by getting to our goals, we can get to those things and have those things in a more easeful and pleasurable way than we've been shown. We don't have to get after the bag or toil or, do all this extra work in order to be able to receive. And how our brains, our minds, our nervous systems, the way that we breathe, the way we move, how we interact with nature, all goes into that. So I think that in my work, that's really more so where I am. And then also wanting to focus more on working with women and, the womb and the feminine, because that soft aspect and that easeful aspect is definitely the feminine aspect of our existence, and it needs to be nurtured and cultivated.
Wow, that's a beautiful, beautiful journey. And you mentioned about your weight challenges. So you said that you were at a certain weight at a certain point in your life, and that's sort of what, persisted you into this field that you're in. How did you sort of shift that mindset during that time when you were at your highest weight? What really drove you into saying, I want change, I want to evolve? What was that moment, if you could remember?
Okay, I'm going to be very, very honest. And it's so coming up because this is something that I have just recently realized is like a major factor in a lot of the things that it is that I have that and am doing. First, I will say that honestly, the weight loss was just a side effect of the spiritual awakening that I went through and was going through. In a lot of the ways that I changed myself as far as what I was listening to, what I was taking in, the places I was going, the people I was associating with. That just happened to be something that went along with that, because even just weight is not physical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. We have things that we hold on to in our bodies that cause us to hold on to physical weight. And so I think that as I transform my mind, the way that I thought about myself, the way that I thought about my interactions with others, the way that I thought about my environment, my community, as I changed, like I said, what I was physically eating and doing and being, as I changed my relationships and how I communicated with others. I think that was a lot of the way that I was able to do that. But I would say that the catalyst for that was in 2015, at the end of 2015. And I can't believe I'm about to say this. I got held hostage in a house.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah. And you want to know something like that just screams trauma, right? But I didn't realize until recently, like the way that actually affected me. Like I self-isolated for years, and didn't even really like, oh yeah, this is a side effect of that trauma that you went through. Like, so I really kind of have to be very transparent with myself lately. Like a lot of these behaviors that you have that you picked up that you think are normal, sis, it's really not normal.
Oh my God. So you think I mean, that experience of, wow, this is the first time definitely hearing about it, of
Yeah.
being held hostage in a house, that trauma, that effect of that is what sort of became the catalyst for you wanting to evolve. That's interesting. And that goes to show you the effects of trauma. I would love to dig a little deeper into that. Tell me a little bit about the trauma and how it sort of affected you. How did that become the catalyst for change, you think?
Think that because in that season I was in one of my dark night of the soul periods where I had gone through this very traumatic breakup and a string of just very traumatic breakups, and I think that I was already on one end of the spectrum of acting out in that. And so when I went through this other thing, it kind of sent me to the other end of the spectrum, was the versus the risky behaviors and all those things that was like all the way over. Okay, I'm not just going to do anything. I'm going to isolate myself. I'm going to close myself off. I'm going to make myself unappealing in certain ways to where I don't receive certain types of attention. Like I think that was the way that it showed up for me in my behaviors. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I mean, that in a way, it was like that was like your purpose-driven moment right there, almost, right? You would say?
Right. Yeah, I think so. In the fact that by me isolating in that way and really going to the direction, I was able to really deal with those things within myself first.
Right.
And I think that even now, the place where I'm at in my experience is where I've done all of the healing that I can do in isolation. And now needing to come out of that and actually interact and communicate and be in certain situations and do certain things to get the other side of what that healing actually looks like.
Right. No, that's a beautiful journey. You mentioned before something about when you were shifting your mindset, it was all about relationships and how you were communicating with people and the people that were around you. And as you were talking to clients and helping, how does that sort of integrate into their daily healing with the relationship building? Because I think a lot of people sort of don't understand that part, how important it is to really build those relationships on a healing level, those healthy relationships. Talk to us a little bit about the relationship building and how that sort of integrates into overall healing and wellness.
I think that what I love about the perspective that I bring to that is that I've gone through a lot of different types of transformations, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and having had to navigate through that I knew what I needed to do for myself, but even just watching other people's journeys and seeing their transformation as well, I can say, oh, okay, they did this that way, but that's not the way that I did it, but it worked for them, you know? So I think being able to be present to all of those things helps me to be able to bring that experience to my clients for them to see that there are alternative ways to be able to move through situations and be able to still have your needs met and get what you want and what you desire, but also be able to respect and honor others in that process, which is very important. Especially when talking about the relationship aspects and transformation, we're not all in the same space, you
Right.
know, all moving and operating from the same point of origin. And so being able to take responsibility for what we know, but also be able to meet other people where they are and give them grace and ourselves grace in that is very important as well.
I love that. I mean, the accountability piece that you just talked about, and then compromising, meeting people halfway, those are two very important characteristics. And as you are starting to, go with clients and talk about this, are you finding that any of these things are a challenge for them to sort of put into action? Or what are some things that you are finding that are challenges for them to really understand and say, okay, I'm going to go with this and I'm going to make this part of my daily routine?
I think that one of the main things, or two of the main things that I have been seeing, have been around communication and around boundaries.
Mm,
In order to say what we want, we have to know what we want. And that requires us to know ourselves in ways, and have explored those options and explored what those actually look like to be able to say, okay, this is what I need from you. This is how I need you to show up for me. Can you do this? And then also, I think the boundary aspect of that, when it comes down again to the desires of, okay, this is what I want, who or what do I need to become in order for this to be put into action and to actually be feasible in my day-to-day life? And a lot of that sometimes looks like the repetitive actions that we take in our habits and in our thoughts and in our mindsets. What are we actually exuding? What energy are we actually putting off? Because if that energy is contrary to what it is that we're saying that we're desiring, then that manifestation is not going to come through the way that we think. We
right.
us thinking that it's us, and all those different things that happen. So I think that those are two of the things I'm seeing with people, is being able to have the boundaries and then communicate them, and even being able to just speak with people that, okay, this is where we are. This is how we need to show up for one another. This is
Right.
our expectations are or are not.
That's interesting. I mean, I totally understand the boundaries part of it because I think in speaking with people on a daily basis too, a lot of people have, issues with like separating those boundaries of even that work-life balance or even within their spiritual self, those boundaries that they're trying to tap into has been a really big challenge. So I definitely resonate with what you're saying, and that's interesting. So, in terms of some of the services that you offer, how are you helping clients? What are some of the services that you're offering for clients to help them achieve that overall health and wellness and that daily balance that you're talking about?
Okay, so right now what I am offering, because at the end of I'm thinking at the end of June, it might be in July, but we're looking at June. I'm going to be holding a 3-month container. It's called the Sacred Feminine Emerging. It's going to be for a select group of women who would like to join. And we're going to talk about a lot of these things. We're going to talk about the communication, the boundaries, the resting into our next level of, the femininity and how we actually use that power that we have in our day-to-day lives in a practical way. And so I'm going to be gearing a lot of my content and things towards that. And then also on Wednesdays on Clubhouse, we're going to be having Sacred Femininity one-on-one conversations where we're going to kind of touch on some of these different topics. And so if you want to join in that's going to be Wednesdays at 7:15 Central Time. And like I said, we're going to do that April, May, and June. And then some of the services that it is that I'm offering right now, I have the Sacred Feminine session, which is to kind of discuss things along that topic of, okay, this is where I'm at, this is the experience that I'm having, but this is where it is that I'm seeking to be. And then we kind of break down in that hour, okay, these are some action steps that you can take and implement in order to kind of bridge that gap between what it is that you're wanting to see in your experience. I also have the holistic health transformation consults, which is for people who are specifically looking at, their health.
Oop, I think you froze. Hopefully come back. You might have frozen a little bit, Clarity. Well, while we're waiting for Clarity, we are listening to the Simply Real podcast. She is definitely telling us a lot about everything that she's doing in her space of divine self-healing, being a holistic health healer, and really transforming lives for women. Let's see if we can get her back in. All right, I think you froze a little bit, Clarity. Hold on. She's not back in yet. Yeah, you can try to come back in maybe.
Uh-oh. Can you see me now?
I can't see you. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh, interesting. Because I can hear you, but I can't see you.
You can't see me? Let me see. Let me try this again. Can you see me now?
Nope. Okay, now I can see you. Can you see
okay.
Me?
You see me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is the good thing about recording a podcast because I can sort of edit. Yes. So, all right. So start. I mean, we heard everything you said about the transformation that you have coming up. Tell us a little bit about the services. We can start again with the services, and I'll just sort of cut and piece it.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So I also have the holistic health transformation consults, which are for people who are specifically looking to see about, their ailments that they have going on, or transforming their weight, managing their weight. Though that is one as well. In that one, it is a 45-minute consultation, and prior to that, I send you a survey that kind of lets me know where you're at and exactly what it is that you're looking for. So that way, in 45 minutes, we can really get through there with some solutions, some results. At right now, I am also doing the discovery sessions for the container, the Sacred Feminine Emerging. And so when you go to my website, you'll be able to sign up for those as well. Like if you're interested, it's just like a little 15 to 20-minute chat that kind of lets us see where one another is, to let us know if it's a good fit for you to come into the container, since that space is going to be very curated towards the intention that it is that we're setting, for that sacred feminine energy. And so we definitely want to make sure that those who it is that are seeking to get into that are in alignment and in fit with that. And so right now, I'm not doing too much on the services. I really want to kind of focus in and get the energy very potent for this container so we can really get in there and get through that work. So
yeah, you're doing a lot. I mean, that sounds like a lot of stuff that you're already going into, but I hope everything goes well. It will go well because you are the energy healer and you put out that great energy, which is something I want to dig into a little bit too. You and I were having a conversation just recently about the energy in the universe and how all these bad things are happening. And is it because of the energies that we're putting out towards each other? Can you talk to us about how energy works and how that really has a ripple effect on not only us as individuals, but our relationships and just really everything in our daily spaces and lives, because it's so interesting how we can tap into those energy levels, right?
Yes, it definitely is. And it's so interesting how we don't know that we have the capacity to really shift that energy. And I was literally just listening to someone yesterday who was saying that, like, even if just 40% of the population of the earth were awakened and in tune to that frequency of, we call it light and all these different things,
right.
That positive frequency will shift so many things. You don't realize how the media and the radio and the television and all these things are tuned to this in negative frequency, then when we're watching these things and we're taking them in and we're repeating them and we're having conversations about it and we're really focused in on it, we're only feeding that negativity. If we could turn off our television and turn off the news for like a week and everybody instead.
I never know what's going on because I don't watch that much news because it's so negative.
Yeah.
I tell you, I'm always the last one to know what's happening. I mean, sometimes I put on my Google on my computer and I see something, I'm like, oh my God, something else happened today in the world. And it's really, just like you said, if we could all just be more attuned to ourselves and exactly how to shift that frequency, I think the world would be a better place, wouldn't it?
Yes, it most certainly would. It most certainly would. It's just about what we give our attention to. You know, there are so many positive and beautiful and wonderful things happening right up under our nose in this world right now. But we would never know because they won't show it to us or advertise it to us because it doesn't feed their agenda. So we have to cultivate our own news feeds and, you know, really be aware of the things that bring us joy and happiness and make those the forefront instead of what's being pushed on us.
Right. No, I love that. We just gotta, I love what you said about creating our own news feed. That's so true. But tell us about what are some tips that you can give to help us shift and focus that energy to really, you know, reel in the good energy for ourselves and for the people around us.
Yes, definitely. I think that it all starts with self first. Everything that we do, you know, they say that your intentions of your life flows from your heart, you know, which is very. So we definitely have to make sure that we are getting our own self care in, that we are getting our own self work in, you know, working on those areas where it is that we need to be more happier, we need to be more mindful, we need to be more, you know, whatever that looks like for us. And then we let that energy radiate from us to our families and those who it is that we interact with. That changes the community and then that changes the world. And that's really the process of how it happens. So I think that being mindful, again, what we talk about, being mindful of what we listen to, who we're around, the environments that we put ourselves in is definitely a start. And even sometimes that's a big task because a lot of us may not have a lot of options about where it is that we are and what it is that we're doing or not seeing that we do. When we can realize that power that we have to really know what the best is for us and to manifest that, then we can really see changes.
Yeah, I love that. It's really about starting with that inner self and that inner process. Absolutely. So, a couple last questions. What are some, I guess, affirmations, powerful affirmations that you can recommend for people to do on a daily basis to really start building those habits, those routines, and start shifting that energy?
Mm-hmm. One thing that I have begun to do, I know depending on, you know, where we come from and what our beliefs are, you know, we talk about like praying first thing in the morning or, you know, speaking to the divine or the universe first thing in the morning or, you know, whatever that looks like. And so for me, one thing that I have been saying before I get up, you know, before I even open my eyes, when I first come back into my body in the rise and say, okay, what is the intention for this day? You know, and divine, whatever that intention is, help me to see it and to not get in the way of it and to be who it is that I need to be, you know, to move through it, you know. And so whatever that looks like, you know, asking, you know, the Holy Spirit to guide you in your day, you know, like whatever that looks like for you, but just being intentional every day, but then also in that intentionality, being self-aware and being present as it's unfolding so that we can really see what it is that is seeking to be shown. And then a couple of my affirmations lately have been I am open, I am vulnerable, and I am available to receive.
I love it. That sums it all up.
Yeah.
Definitely powerful. Definitely powerful. So, for somebody who's looking to start this process of transformation and healing, what is your process to start with them? You know, take me through like their client process. So, if somebody's listening in, they sort of know what to expect. If they call Clarity for this transformation healing session, what should they expect?
Okay. Okay. So you can expect healing. Okay.
Of course. Deep transformation.
Right. Oh man. Okay, so first you would contact me, which I have the mediums for you to do so. You can put in a contact form on www.divineselfhealing.com, or you can go specific to the service that you would like to book and select your time and put that through, and then I will confirm it for you. Or you can message me on Instagram or Facebook at Divine Self Healing through direct message, and I will get back to you, and then we'll go through the process of getting you scheduled for what it is that you would like to do. So depending on the service, for my health services, I'll always have the clients fill out the survey form, because when we're dealing with your health and what you have going on, we need to know specifically what's happening, what's going on, if you're taking medications. But when I already said about this to you, you know what it looks like, so we know where to start from and where it is that you're seeking to go. We can get you some real solutions. And then with the other services that I have, those are very more I'm holding the space. We're in the moment with it. So I might not ask you too many questions about, what's happening, except for the purpose of what it is that you're seeking to get from that. And so that way I can be clear and have my own clarity on, okay, when we move into this space, this is that we're seeking and what we're doing. So that's kind of like the spectrum of what it looks like when you work with me. When we go in to hold the space, we go with intention, so that way we can come out with what it is that we're seeking.
Beautiful. Well, I'm definitely going to tap in and have everybody who's listening in today on the Simply Real podcast definitely tap in with Clarity. She's offering some beautiful services, and I just love everything that you're doing in the space of bringing energy, overall health, wellness, and healing, and really transforming the lives of women, and just to be more powerful and to recognize their strengths and recognize everything that they can do for themselves. So I think it's wonderful, everything that you're doing. Any last minute thoughts, or any strategies or tips or any advice for anybody listening out there?
I'm just very grateful to be here. Grateful for who has listened, to anybody who will join us in the Clubhouse or on Instagram or wherever it is that you would seek to connect. We're always grateful to have you, grateful to exchange the energy. And I think that that's all.
Well, you definitely gave us a lot of beautiful information today, and everybody has to go check you out at the Community Business Expo. You did a wonderful job with your presentation, which is all up on my YouTube page, but we will definitely integrate some of that into today's podcast. And once again, thank you, Clarity, for joining us on the Simply Real podcast. It was really a pleasure to have you today. We learned so much about energy and shifting our energies and refocusing and re-energizing and really just revamping to transform our lives. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Clarity.
Thank you.